All right. Well, welcome everybody back to a new episode of the podcast. I'm going to just say we're disrupting things. Generally the weekend rental falls at the end of our episode and we're going to play a game and we're going to talk about it. But it's not the true weekend rental, right? Like sort of a big game that might have shattered records, stolen assets, stolen time has come out since we've done an episode. And it's Pal World, right? Like Pal World is the weekend rental de facto in this episode, is it not?
Yeah, I mean pretty much it was hard to get motivated to play the game that we were going to play. We'll talk about later.
And it's not a bad game, but it is not
No.
the greatest in that series where this is all the best bits of every game you played in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah, and they just mix them together. What
Right.
could be wrong? It's the peanut butter in my chocolate.
It's the Pokemon in my Fortnite. It's the Ark in my Monster Hunter.
Yep.
It's the Breath of the Wild in my
it goes on.
Yeah, it just everything. All the best games you've liked from the last 10 years, this game has stolen the best bits of and still kind of somehow managed to be its own thing, and it's equally enjoyable in every regard. But
yeah,
it's nothing you haven't seen, but it's everything you've loved all at once, is how I describe this.
Yes. To some extent. I mean,
sure.
You know, if the stamina part is not your favorite part of Breath of the Wild, they definitely took that from here.
Yes.
But the gliding, that's pretty good.
But the stamina wheel also is like more detrimental, I feel, in this regard.
Yeah. Yep.
If you loved the building of Ark, but you hated the fact that like everything like just in your home base just like had this massive degradation factor, they've solved that because there's a blue ring of like forever build. You know what I mean? Like I've discovered the degradation outside of the world or like the hub, but the fact that like your home base does not require constant maintenance is amazing.
Yes. They did take, you know, and the progression system as far as how you're unlocking technology and stuff, that, I mean, it looks exactly like they couldn't even design it a little bit different. No. It looks like they took the assets from it.
Yeah. I think the worst thing they've done though is just like not connect all the dots, right? Like there's a ton of stuff that like you unlock, can build, doesn't really make sense. And then the fact that they're like doing like a photorealistic world, like Breath of the Wild sort of, or Ark lush environment, and then it's like Fortnite character graphics and Pokemon, it doesn't fit.
It doesn't. I don't know what you do. I mean, do you make super hyper realistic like Monster Hunter designs
right
as Pokemon? I don't know.
It's all like jank in a way that I love. But like some of it is so short-sighted. Like I think the first thing you run into like around level 15 is like the cooler. All right, you're going to build a cooler. It's a refrigerator. It'll make your food last almost forever, right? But it also doesn't matter because at level like 3, you've learned to make like berry farms. And berry farms produce infinite food for everybody forever, all the time. So you get this like cool unlock that they want you to build, part of the tutorial. And you don't need it because you already have like a level 1 system in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a weight savings if you just have like, you know, meat that that heals you more or does more of your hunger. There
It
might
does,
be,
yeah, it
but
replenishes more. But and we're glossing over the fact that like the best aspect of this game is that in an open world survival resource management game, like you have a bunch of pals, which are Pokemon, that you can also assign to do like all your tasks, right? So you don't have to do the farming, the mining, the tree gathering. Like they'll do it for you.
it
But at the
depends on
same,
what the AI is thinking at that
sure,
moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But for the most part, it works.
Yeah.
But the problem is like you build this, like, and this is the moment that like kind of broke it for me. Is like the refrigerator comes up, you have to assign a pal to it with that. Like he's got to be a cooling pal, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't work full time. So as soon as he decides he needs to like get up and eat, he walks over, eats. Your timer is killed. So this like 200-hour like refrigerator time goes down to like 15 seconds. And then it doesn't reset. So it's all bullshit. Like I know it's early access, but like they've already broken like fundamental systems, and it kind of makes like late game stuff seem not worthwhile, or like even mid game stuff.
Yeah. I I I've had a huge problem with getting the ingots. Um, you set how many, how much metal you want refined.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're just nobody's working on it. I have like 5 guys that can sit there and spit fire on it, and
Yeah.
none of them ever are working on it, and they're completely fine. They just choose to do something else.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating when it's like that's the main thing I want. And
Yeah.
I've tried setting them to that. I don't know if that goes away after you exit out.
I mean, I think it's
Maybe.
like the same thing as like the fridge, right? Like if you're not there, like it just goes
Yeah.
away. So the only way I will do ingot is to be at my base, throw a pal that is in my like set of 5, and then like wait,
Yeah.
because it's just not reliable. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Yeah. It's so it is pretty broken in some spots. Some, I mean, like I was saying that I fall through the world. I'm kind of
Oh yeah,
at the end parts of these like big mountains and stuff, and I'm constantly falling through the world. The textures are just not. There's no collision or something on them. I don't know, but it's not good. Um, but then you have things like when you load into the game and you're just a lady who's T-posing around, and then all of a sudden all your pals just explode out of one central point. Like I
yes,
hope they keep that in because that's so satisfying.
yeah, yeah. I've kind of gotten like to the point of now where I'm like multiple bases, you know, because I'm like, well, I got all these pals. I don't need another base, but like, I might as well put them to work. And like, yeah, it's hilarious every time you like fly in or load in. It's just like this fountain of like random animals like flying out. Um, I I also appreciate just like the sheer stupidity sometimes. Like, you know, it's supposed to be like a Pokemon game at its core, maybe. I don't know. But like you can't rely on them for combat. Like you'll run out. I like through raids, I have some like amazingly overpowered Pokemon for my level, or pals. I'm sorry, not Pokemon, pals. And I will throw them out and they will do jack shit in battle, even though I've assigned them to like mercilessly kill. So it's like, well, if the most reliable aspect is like PvP, you know what I mean? Like, why even waste my time leveling them up? Because I could just wait until I unlock machine guns and then the game is my bitch, right?
Yeah. If anything, I mean, to me, the nicest part is they're just aggro. Like if you get damage out of
Sure,
them,
sure.
that's great. But yeah, I haven't been able to like really rely on them. And
Yeah,
like
and
any of the boss battles feel more like a Monster Hunter
yes.
battle than a Pokemon battle, I would say.
Yeah, it's all about distraction. And I think that's one of the biggest faults in like at least the early beta is like you get through the build a fire, build a workbench, build a whatever, and then it's like go attack the person at the syndicate. It's like you can't overcome that until you're like level 20 probably.
Mm-hmm.
So why have that be like a constant reminder on my screen when there's like a giant level gap? Because we've tried it and
It's
no,
hard.
I'll
Yeah.
wait till I have guns. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
have pals. I could probably grind it out, or I could wait until I have a gun, walk in and just like light the fucker up. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna wait around and
Yeah.
do the pal thing. You know?
I'm I I beat the first one and I'm almost to the last one, but I haven't gone into any of them because
Okay.
I don't know which one is like what's the progression, what's the next one that you're supposed to go to, you know?
Have you been doing a lot of like the cage dungeons and stuff like that too? And
Some of them, I will say the dungeons, I do not like their design because it's tough to find where you can get lost very easily in them.
sure.
And I don't exactly love like how they kite you to the where the end is in the dungeon, you know?
Yeah. I'm also not a fan of like how the dungeon multiplayer is fine, but like the like spears, like the whatever the main guys, like it's got to be 1v1. Like why is that? You know what I mean? In a game that
Yeah.
feels like it's ultimately designed to be multiplayer,
Mhm.
why force that gauntlet on
Oh,
one person?
I didn't know that. Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And that's been my biggest headache so far is that like every iterative patch or update they've done has broken my son and I playing together in the same
Mm,
Xbox online game with just 2 to 4 people max. Steam obviously is 30 people, but every time they put out a patch, it will not work. We have to wait 24 hours and then we can join a game, which is annoying. But early access, so I mean, to be expected.
yeah. I what it's I was excited about this when it first announced. Like it was just like a footnote in one of the Xbox conferences or videos from some point.
Yeah.
Um so I was like, yeah, I'll check that out. Came out and now it's just like the biggest thing in the world. It is surprising that it had no marketing going up to it, really.
Well, and I didn't
And
even know about it until you were like, Power World, it's like Pokemon with guns. I was like, what? It's like, all right, I'll try it. And I was like, I like this. This is good. It's all the
yeah.
shit I like about Arc, but none of the dumb shit too, right?
Yep.
Like I think that's its like all right, like it steals inspiration from like everything, right? But it also makes it infinitely approachable. And I think that's where the core gameplay shines. And there will be an end to it. And I assume a pretty short end in the early access phase that it's in, but I don't know if they can kind of keep that momentum and build an end game and build like raids and like multiplayer dungeons. This has the potential to be a very large, fun multiplayer experience that gets iterative seasonal updates, like every other free to play game out there. And I know it's not free to play. We're playing it for free, well, quote unquote free through Xbox, but it's got a lot of the stuff that makes an MMO or a Fortnite approachable and fun, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, they definitely have the install base and the money now to. I mean, they're a
20,000
Fortnite.
copies or something, or like 10,000 copies.
It's a platform now. Like
Yeah.
they. this is not just a game and we'll test it out, and they're going to have to support this for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Because I played their last game, and it definitely was this without the Pokemon. It was super realistic, and it had like the glider shit in it, but it was also felt really janky. So I didn't stick to it. I think it was like Craftopia or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And that was on Game Pass like last year, I think. But just yeah, they've done a lot, and I think the Pokemon does add stuff to it. But
The pals.
Yes, the pals. But I think they don't put a lot of roadblocks. A lot of game design, whereas like if you're over encumbered in this game, it's like, yeah, you can't run, but you could still do pretty much everything. Sometimes you can't jump, but you can still get around. You can still fast travel. You can still do all that stuff, where most games are just like, oh, you can't do anything, you know?
They take most of the annoying shit out. I will agree.
Yep.
And that makes it way more fun. Mm-hmm. And they've sprinkled in like the Breath of the Wild, like nuggets for exploring, right? Like you'll find a chest, you'll find an egg. Like one of my favorite days playing the game was like finding that metropolitan, almost Halo like city where it's just like, oh, I picked up 45 fucking eggs over the last 3 hours. And I'm gonna go back and hatch all these bitches. You know what I mean? Like it was great. It was like, what's on top of that skyscraper? More eggs? Yes, please.
Yep.
And then you know, it's
and the eggs turn into huge amount of XP, and it's a whole other avenue of leveling up, and
yes. Yeah, everything for the most part feels rewarding. I think what's missing right now is like the crafting doesn't quite live up to stuff that's substantial and or worthwhile, and that's okay because it's early access, but they need to really think about like how they're going to unlock that later on, because like, okay, it's great that I hit level 15 and I can make like 45 fucking plants to put in my house, but who gives a shit? You know what I mean? And they also need to like the biggest problem to me is like the PAL AI. Like using them to fight is iffy at best. Having them at your base, which I mean we haven't touched on it, but like I think that's the biggest unique asset is like the PALs are essentially your slaves. So they do a lot of that, but like it's inconsistent. Like I wish they would not fill up random storage totes with whatever the fuck they felt like they wanted to throw in there, because I'm not watching them. It's super annoying. They fill it all up all the time. It's great.
They could definitely they could definitely deal with some automation stuff and security stuff and like filters and stuff like that for storage for sure.
Yeah. But it's frustrating too that they have pals that are just like completely worthless in your roster. Like you'll throw them out there and they're just like, yeah, that guy's not going to do jack shit. You know what I mean? I feel like it's only level like 1 through 10 pals that really do much. So it's like, well, let's get to the point where this level like 23 guy also kicks ass and does like double duty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they eventually get their skills are doubled. I think they're, the certain things that they do will have different numbers next to them.
Sure.
But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, it is rewarding to have that many just pals just everywhere in your base.
Well, yeah, and the fact that you can like sprout out like a new base and be like, well, I have 400 extra pals. I'll build a base and have them be my like sweatshop for ore. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Great.
I did run out of space to store my pals.
Well, stop catching.
So that happened when I just beat a boss. I beat one of the, went down in the thing and got him. I beat him, caught him, and then it just sat there and it's like, pick him up. I'm like, I can't.
Oh.
So I had to leave, and yeah, and
That's rough.
there's a thing called a combiner or condenser or something like that where you can like combine them together, which works for, I think you can turn basically 5 of them into one. But if you try to do it again, then you need 16 of them. So then it's tough because the main mean maxing on that is catching 10 of everything.
Sure.
Because that's, you get the bonus XP. You catch 10.
Is that where the breeding comes in too, or?
I haven't done any of that yet, so there might be something like that you can. Yeah, I don't know how that works exactly, but yeah, I'm kind of in that mode where I have to constantly have to go to the box and then like maintain and combine things, and it's all right, but they could do
So,
better, I think, on that end.
in this early access mode, let's just like treat it like it is. Buy, rent, burn. What do you feel about it?
It's definitely a buy. Like if this was a full priced, if I had to go buy this on the shelf, I would buy it.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. It's not a Nintendo level quality of game.
But gigabyte wise, at 6 gigs,
Yeah, that's pretty low.
it's a Breath of the Wild
Yeah.
storage wise sort of
Yep.
game.
It is a huge map. Like it's
Giant.
a lot of stuff to explore, and there are different collectibles, like you said, to actually look around and find. So that part is fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to see what other type of games are they bringing a tactics game into this? What else? What else can they steal? Bring it in.
Yeah, I'd give it a buy also. It's like it's everything I like about like an Ark type game and a Breath of the Wild type game, but also with the base building. Just like not being so crushing. It's it's very fun. I'm looking forward to the full release. I'm surprised I hadn't heard about it. Like, thank God you pointed me out to the game. Because
I'm
yeah,
sure you would have heard about it by now.
well, yeah, by now.
Yeah.
But my son and I have been having like a blast playing it, and like he's a Fortnite kid, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm really interested in see what they do going forward. I'm also interested to see, the level is the progression is basically level 50. I don't know if you can go beyond that, if you can keep gaining levels. I don't know, but
no, I bet not until they update it.
yeah. So I don't know what I'll do after I hit that. I mean, if I guess I could go around catching everything and max everything out, but then you're wasting XP, I guess.
I feel like even like level 20, like you're just like, well, I could monopolize resource management and I could monopolize all this, but like you've kind of seen the end of it. Like I want to see more. I think what they need to do is really add in like more multiplayer required raids and then like a whole end game dungeon system, and then it could be
Yeah.
top tier. But even if they don't, it's still a must play. Like I
Oh
love
yeah.
it. So
I am. So one thing that I felt was pretty lazy. I don't know if you've seen too much of this yet, but they do use a lot of the same PAL models,
yeah.
and basically it's like this is a grass one and this one's an electric one. And that
Well,
part's
like
kind of
pointy
lame.
ears versus like a long tail. And, yeah.
Yeah, that part's kind of lame.
Especially if you're already stealing it from Pokemon. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
on a Mewtwo, but now it's like a Mewtwo with a ponytail. Come on. Yeah, it's lazy.
Yeah, there is some in there where it's just you
That moth one was the one where I was like, I don't even know what that guy's name is in Pokemon. But that is the same dude.
yeah.
It's like 100%. Yeah, it's wild. I so speaking of Fortnite, like I just wanted to touch on like a subject and get your thoughts on this. Maybe the audience too. Like, feel free to write or message us. But my son came home yesterday from school, and they do these like don't know, like town hall like meetings occasionally, like once a week. And it's like, hey, what are your interests? Like, what are you doing? What are you up to? And he came home and he was pissed because he was barred from talking about Fortnite. His teacher said in those group meetings he was not allowed to talk about Fortnite anymore. And then he told me, like, in a one-off discussion when the class wasn't there, his teacher was also like, "You can't talk about Fortnite anymore." Which, I mean, let's weigh what's happening. I'm not there. I don't know the context, and also, yeah, I live with a 10-year-old whose epicenter of his universe is what's happening in Fortnite. I come down to my game room here and we're going through stuff. I was like, hey, that's Spyro. He's like, oh yeah, he was in Fortnite. And I was like, nope. And I was like, here's this game. It's Attack on Titan 2 for the PS4. He's like, yeah, that's from Fortnite. I'm like, no, it's not. And that's what I mean. Like, I get inundated with Fortnite shit constantly, which isn't his fault. It's just that Fortnite is all encompassing. And while my son does a million things, Fortnite is the most important thing in his universe, right? So I find it kind of frustrating, and maybe I shouldn't, that a teacher would like stifle a kid's, I don't know, like central and creative focus, right? Like, I know from being with my son that it isn't everything he does because we do a lot of stuff. But I also know that if he plays Fortnite 1 hour throughout the day, that is the most important 1 hour to him out of everything we did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be Disney, it could be the circus. He wouldn't give a shit. Like it's so.
Yep.
I guess I'm a little bit pissed. Well, I'm a gaming parent too, so. But I guess I'm a little bit pissed off that like a teacher would be like, no, like you cannot talk about your passion. You know what I mean? Am I wrong on that? I don't know.
I think to the teacher that's selfish. I mean, so my kids they play Fortnite, but I would say in this house it's the Minecraft that is very much in that. Sure. All three of my bigger kids are all super into Minecraft. And some days I wish I could ban Minecraft talk in my house because it gets a little bit, because you don't know what they're talking about half the time, but you try and stay engaged. And I could imagine if you let that loose and it is, something like Fortnite where everybody is into it, it would dominate a meeting, I think. I mean, it's pretty much anything that was, banned at our school, Pokemon cards. It became a problem because everybody did it. It wasn't one person bringing it to school. So I can understand some of that, but at the same time, I mean, all the creative stuff my kids do, they're writing stories, they're coloring, making pictures, and it's about Minecraft, so it's.
Well, that was our thing. It was like my wife was like, his art project for this last week, he drew a picture of Fortnite. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, it's like I get tired of hearing about it, but like if it's their flame, like you don't want to put that out, right?
Yeah. It sucks that it is such a monstrous, like, ongoing thing. Like when we were kids,
gaming is still a stigma after we're this old.
Yeah, but I mean, when we were young, we were obsessed about games too, but
sure,
we beat them and then they went away. They would go in and out, whereas like these just don't die. So it's
and I feel like it's a little different, right? Because like when we were kids, we beat them, we loved them, we talked about them. Our teachers told us to shut the fuck up, and our parents were like, "Get over it. You're not a kid anymore. Like it's a video." But like the medium has evolved. Everything like tech wise has evolved. Social media, streaming, music, video, TikTok, X. But like still, why is there still a stigma over like a very common everyday 90% of people play them in some way sort of pastime is gaming? You know what I mean?
right.
It's bullshit.
Or even if you if you wrap it all up into screen time, it's
Sure.
all the same for everybody pretty much,
Sure.
which
Which
that's
is
usually
so hard, right?
Oh yeah.
Like we have those conversations at my house. It's like, well, we're all doing it. Like we're all on the internet, but like, am I doing my kids a disservice by not sitting them down and like being like, this is how you type. This is a keyboard. Here's where you find the C drive. Here's how you understand what a GUI is. Like it kind of is like shocking, right? And will it matter by the time they're adults? I don't fucking know.
Probably not. At the same time, we were taught on Apples, so we figured it out after
Dude, those
school
Apple
anyway.
IIs were sweet. Yeah, it is weird. Like it's so weird. I don't know. Like I'm torn about it. Like I kind of get what the teacher's saying, but like
Does
part
the
of it
school
is
have
the guilt, right? Like is like, well, I'm a piece of shit parent because like I let him play games all the time, which is the perception based on what he says, but it's not the reality, right? Like we do so much more. We camp, we fish, we hike, we bike, like, but it doesn't matter because he resents all that stuff, which is wild. But like the one thing that sticks in his 10-year-old brain is Fortnite. So
right. Yeah, passion doesn't mean how much time he gets in it, it's
right, not all consuming.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My wife is already like ready to wage war. So
do they have like a video game club or anything like that they can do?
They used to have one when they got to middle school, but it was one of those things where it's like not funded or well, if it's funded, it's very barely funded.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a teacher who is willing to like take it on. It's basically like a free after school project. So I don't think they have one in middle school where he's going to be going to, but and also
Okay.
I'm not sure that like that's good for him because in the way our house is set up, like his door is here, about 2.5 feet away is my bedroom door. And there are times on a Friday night when I go to bed at like 9 because I'm just over it, that kid is up screaming at people for being pieces of shit and not like doing what he wants them to. So I don't know that he needs like more of an ego or a platform. I just feel bad that like the kid has like, it's just and I totally get it, like PlayStation was my thing when I was his age, or I'm not that old, but like Super Nintendo. But it's wild. I just kind of irked us. My wife is probably gonna say something at a parent teachers, and I'm probably just gonna like sit there like, yeah, this one, hon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my guess. Is the guy has been having to listen to video game talk that he knows nothing about for how many years about the same stuff.
And every kid showing up in a Fortnite shirt, they're all talking about it.
Yeah,
they're flossing. I get it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Those kids. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. It's tough to parent about it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, he's the same kid who went to school about a month ago, and his buddy gave him like a gold chain necklace, and he's wearing it every day. Out of the blue, stopped wearing it, right? So like, what happened? Well, he got made fun of by a 5th grader. So okay, I get it. Like, I'd stand my ground, but he's just like, no, I'm done with it. So you know what he has me order this week? He wants new tennis shoes. He orders unisex fluorescent pink Skechers from Amazon. I was like, all right, bud, let's play this game. Let's see how long this lasts.
How long you last. Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with pink on men. I wore plenty of pink stuff in my earlier years too, and I will continue to, but
if you didn't like how the gold chain went down.
Right. I was like, this is not boding well. And as soon as it's like, well, So when he wanted me to order it, my immediate response was like, "Why don't we spray paint your gold chain pink?" He's like, "Really?" And he got all excited. I was like, "All right, let's do this. Like, we'll double down, right?"
Yep.
So I'll report back next week if
Mm-hmm.
they show up for Amazon, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. You watch that new Ghostbusters trailer?
I
The
did.
Frozen Empire?
Yeah. There's a lot of people in that movie.
Right. Yeah, everybody. And then some.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I guess my takeaway was like, this is a 3-minute trailer. And I kept waiting for like Elsa to pop out for one. But then I was also like, this is incredibly dark for a sequel to what was essentially a very lighthearted movie, minus like the last 10 minutes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. There isn't a lot of really creepy stuff in that one.
No, it's mostly like a teen flick with like a
Yeah.
little bit of horror, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That I mean, it's weird that the whole thing is like it seems less ghost based because it just everything's just like, oh, it's ice. Oh no. Like the
Yeah,
ice
it's
is supposed to
weird.
be scary more than the ghost itself, but
Yeah. And a little bit more demonic. And I guess it's probably just me like holding a resentment against Murray, but like I just get really pissed seeing him poised in a prominent role, knowing that like he shot down for
mhm.
decades the third Ghostbusters movie that Raimi wanted to do, and then it was like only after Raimi was dead will they all come back, and then like yeah, you pay homage to him in the previous movie through like a weird CG scene, but it's like fuck Bill Murray, fuck all you, fuck off.
Yeah, and now
I,
they all come back. It's like,
right? I
what?
can't.
Why not? I
Yeah,
don't
I
get it.
can't shake it. Like fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what Girl Busters was so bad that you had to like finally come back and like I don't
Well,
know.
and he was in that one too. So
That's true. That's right. Yeah, I just I'll watch it because I liked the first one, but
mhm.
like the reason I liked Afterlife was not because the original cast came back. I liked that they tried something new, new cast. I thought it was supposed to be a reboot. But now you're like, no, the old Ghostbusters are the central point, and also these kids and Paul Rudd are here. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
eat
Like,
my ass. Like,
what's
no,
what?
let's,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm bitching, but I'm gonna watch it. But yeah, I just like
Yeah.
it's such a fuck you to the franchise. I mean, it's not Crystal Skull fuck you. At least I don't think so yet. But I don't know, man. Why?
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to is why. I mean, they like you said, they had, they even got the Stranger Things guy to really drive home the point that this is
Yeah.
going to be a Stranger Things, teenage mystery Ghostbusters, and then now, yeah, so
But remember all those ghost stories where you saw giant icicles coming from the beach? Oh, you don't? Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, everybody. Yeah, I'm sure it will be entertaining and it will be a thing, but it's already lost me. I'll be quite honest. You know what I
mhm.
mean?
And it could be maybe they're a small role, but it just didn't seem like it. They
Right.
were pretty heavily featured.
From the trailer, if you give like the ensemble cast from the first movie screen time compared to the demon or ghost or whatever the fuck he is and the old guys, the old crew. Yeah, it
You got to
was
bring the
like
secretary back even.
right, exactly. It was like what 60-40, I would
Yeah,
say. Like
yeah.
and yeah. The time to do that was like 1999.
Hmm.
Not now.
Yep. Though Rick Moranis is acting again, so maybe he'll show up.
Is he really? Did he
I
come
thought
out?
I thought he's been doing some stuff again, but
He's a great actor
mhm.
and a good guy. I mean, from all accounts, right? Like
Oh yeah, he
quits acting because his wife died, and like I was like, hey, I'm gonna raise my kids. All right, get on you, man. Like, yeah. I mean, how many celebrity people would be like, well, I make like 10 mil a year. Like, I'll pay 3 people to raise my children.
Right.
So, and I mean, I'll attribute some of that to like his Canadian heritage, and I guess like I don't know, I kind of maybe wrongfully so attribute Canadian heritage to Midwest heritage, where it's like you have value in your family, and you know what I mean, like small town shit. But it'd be cool to see him back in some stuff. And he froze. Oh no. We lost Andy, everybody. He went to itch his head. He might have unplugged his Ethernet. All I can see is his twins hat. It's is it a twin? No, not a twins hat. What is the hat? Not twins? Is it twins?
Twins.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the thing. He scratched the twins hat. It's bad luck. They haven't won a World Series since 91. That's the problem.
It is a problem.
It's a real problem. Twins.
Mm-hmm. Minnesota sports. Yeah.
Yeah, the Wild. You Hernahoff, and you listen to the SAGcast, Strange Gamer Cast on Geekade, but they had a whole opening segment a couple episodes ago about like what a shit name the Wild was. You know?
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to be upset, but I'm like, no, that's a shit name. Like, yeah, Wild is a bad name.
And so they really kicked off like the like every new team name that comes out now, it's always like it's not a thing.
It's a verb.
Yeah, it's almost like a vibe. We're just a vibe team now. It's yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, the Wild is like the best thing that
they had the what was it? Yeah. Oh yeah, hockey. It's because it's mostly Minnesota's here.
But like the Wild is like I feel like the most consistent thing Minnesota is going, right? Because you have the Timberwolves, which have never like they've had a season or two. What's your really WNBA?
WNBA has won championships, but
what's the name of the? Yeah, nobody cares. What's the name of the team?
The Lynx.
Yeah, it's also terrible. You got the Twins who haven't won since '91, but they got Target Field, which in their infinite wisdom they decided to build a stadium which could never host the World Series. Good job. Yep. You finally get the Vikings into a position where they could host a Super Bowl, which that stadium has, but they will never make it to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
it's rough. Fun.
Like the Cubs have even like had a redemption arc, right? But
yeah.
Minnesota in general is just like, no, we're fucked.
We're the longest. We're the sports market that has waited the longest to have any sort of championship, which was 91. So we haven't had any team win other than the WNBA. But
dude, how old were you at 91?
6.
So you totally missed 5. Like you totally missed like the Homer Hankies, like the hype, everything.
I do remember 91. Okay. Obviously at 87, I don't remember anything.
I want to say my parents went to game 5 because they got it like through a work thing, and like they brought me a Homer Hanky, and like I just remember like I was never more into a sport or baseball, and like that was the peak baseball time too, right? Like a few years before the strike, and like. Dude, I still have that Homer Yankee somewhere. And like I would have sucked Kirby Puckett's dick. Like you know what I mean? Like I loved that. And Ken Herbeck, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people still have the Wheaties box from back then. And it's just like, how bad is that Wheaties box?
4 years. 4 years we had that. And I think like at some point it got like water damage and we just threw it out. But like, yeah. Fuck. I forgot about how significant in culture the Wheaties box was. I don't even know if that's a cereal anymore, is it? I can't imagine it is. Or if it is, nobody's buying it. And we lost Andy again. Yeah. Oh, He's got in and out. You got real excited over that Wheaties box and just like waiting for him to come back. Yep. Oh, all right. Back.
We're back.
Yeah, I was telling the audience how you just ejaculated over the Wheaties box idea, and like your internet couldn't handle it. So, yeah, yeah, it's so wild. All right, let's get into some other topics. Board game arena. What is this?
It's a website that you can play board games on, and it has pretty much like most of the board games that we have been playing
Digitally or
yeah. So I don't know how they're doing it. I mean, I make websites for a living, so
right?
it's interesting to see how they have like this web-based like canvas that they have cards and dice and all
And
that stuff in it.
proprietary rights to board games, one would assume.
Right. And I don't so the part that I don't understand is like so there's a premium feature that there's premium games that you can play on there. Um the free ones are like, Yahtzee and like
Chess, yeah.
yeah, just cheap stuff like the normal stuff, traditional stuff. But yeah, the premium ones are just like all the bangers that you'd want to play. Um although you do need to pay a yearly fee. I think it was like $36
Oh,
just
but when you think
to
about like buy like 2 games, it's almost worth
right,
it, right?
right. And from there, that just lets you start a game, one of the premium games. Other than that, you can invite anybody you want. They don't have to be premium.
Nice.
So it works out pretty good for anybody else that wants to play because just one person needs to pay. And yeah, so far it's especially nice for the games that take so much to like set up. You just don't even you want to play that game, but you don't want to spend the 20 minutes to like set up all the cards and put the board up and all
So
that stuff.
let me pitch this by you, like something like say like a Catan. Can you set that up, do it digitally, and then like at the internet, like you pause it, like it remembers everything. You come back a week later, game continues.
Yep, you can do
Okay,
there's two different settings. You can do real time and you can do turn based. So like
so
it'll
that's amazing actually for that
yeah,
price.
yeah, it's awesome. And the hardest part is probably like if you're playing on your phone, some of those games are very big. So
Sure,
it's tough to make a UI that makes sense for that. But
right.
in a lot of cases it works out pretty good, and it does all the scoring for you, which is nice for a lot of these games where it's like, well, you have to add up everything at the end, and it's like, well, this is already doing that. It'll tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that, and it'll do kind of like some UI things like, oh, this is the areas that you could play this, which is just kind of nice. It eliminates like some of that like
Sure.
paralysis where you're just like, what can I do here, so it makes games go a lot quicker too.
Dude, that's like a really cool idea. How'd you find it? Can I ask?
There's a board game YouTube channel that was talking about it, and at first I thought, oh, that's kind of lame, like I've heard of like Tabletop Simulator, and I thought, well, that's similar,
Sure.
and it's not as robust as Tabletop Simulator, but it's licensed and it has all the stuff, which to me, I don't understand. Like, if I created a new board game, what's my incentive to put it on this thing? It's almost like kind of like a Game Pass situation, but
Sure. Or like a Spotify, yeah, like you're getting
yeah.
1/100th of, but at the same point, like it's not worth, yeah. Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
And
Huh.
of course, me, I'm like trying to look under the hood on how they're doing this, and they have like a whole developer portal where you can make your games,
Sure.
but it's like a community. Like they're not paying any of the people that are making these games.
I think what might be like a little unique about this is like who's going to jump online to play this game if they haven't already purchased, taking the time to understand the game, right? Like that's got to be more of like 75% versus 25%, maybe. You think?
Yeah, I think a lot of this probably is like the people that are into that type of scene, you know?
Right. Like I love this, and I want to get casual people, normies, to like play with
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah, yeah. And they do have tutorials for pretty much every game that I've done. Like they'll have like
Yeah.
they'll they'll load you into the game and give you different tooltips and point at different things and say this is what, this means and this is what this does, and which
Sure.
is better than just staring at a booklet, trying to figure it out.
Right. Well, and I've always felt like some of those booklets are like so totally open to interpretation. Like you might read one line totally different than somebody might have intended it, and like you're playing the game backwards once you like play with a bunch of people who know it. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. We've been playing a lot in our house. It is a little awkward when we're like both of us are on our phones kind of ignoring everything else that's going on around us, and all of a sudden one of us just yells, "Damn it, I can't believe you did that," at the other person, and I'm sure the kids are like, "What's going
Yeah. Yeah.
on here?"
Well, I mean, is it any different than like playing a board game in real life and then you've got people swearing back and forth at each other? I suppose it's all more in context then, but you know what I mean. He doesn't know what I mean because Andy is once again stalled. This is the stall cast, everybody. He's back, baby. Oh, that's his old face right there. He got lucky.
We're back again.
Oh, all right. You're back, but all I see is your old. Oh, there you're back. Your old face is
There.
gone.
I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight.
Who knows? It's the World Wide Web. I was reading a thing
Mhm.
about the FBI security defense guy talking about how we're all being infiltrated by China through out of date routers on a daily basis. So we're all fucked, so that's fine. What I was
Well,
going to segue into off of your. Actually, I'm super interested in that. I'm going to have to get the info on that after this. But speaking of tabletop board gaming, I mentioned last time trip to Norway. Well, I've been like connecting and reconnecting with people who I've been talking with, but like been playing more Sea of Thieves with my buddy Tom over in Norway. We played for several hours this last Saturday through because he's like, dude, season 11, like, because we played before and I was like, I have no fucking clue what's happening in this game. I don't like
mhm.
it. So we started playing again because he's like, season 11, brand new, just kicked off, start of the year, all new tutorials, we'll do it. Really like that game. Really like it with like a fresh sense of exploration. And also explained to him that the time before that we played, I had taken a couple edibles. So by the time we were at least a couple hours into that session, I probably wasn't in the best frame of mind to, you know, learn a new game. But yeah, I'm impressed with what they pulled off of Sea of Thieves. It's got great graphics. They tie into a lot of through lines, obviously, with Disney and the Pirates saga. And I found the gameplay really fun. And he was kind of teaching me the ropes and how to navigate a ship, how to unlock different things. And I could kind of see myself getting into that on a semi regular basis, even with like a small to regular group, and just kind of knocking that one out. It's fun.
Yeah, so has any of the like progression stuff changed, or is it kind of the same type of thing? I mean,
See, I
it's
don't
still
know.
cosmetics.
Yeah, I'm still yeah, it seems mostly cosmetic, but I think what I've started to pick up is like it's the randomness, right? Like it's like you don't know the chaos that will come to you on a server. I mean, granted, you could play it on like a closed server that doesn't have like other people, but it's the whole like we're pirates, we're on the sea. Like, okay, those people won't kill us, and they want to be our allies. All right, we're gonna go do this mission, and those people have also allied with somebody else, but right about when we're going to get the loot from this thing, the last person who allied through the other ally dropped the alliance, decided to rape us in the ass, kill us all, and steal the loot. You know what I mean? Like, and my buddy's like, you can't be pissed off about that. It's a pirate game. We're about pirates. I was like, yeah, they're asshole pirates, though. You know? He's just like, no, this is normal. I'm like, fuck that. Like, let's kick their ass.
Sounds like Survivor.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those things. Like, it's almost like an open world. Like it's not any different than like an archetype game, right? Like where it's like surface level, the combat and everything is X amount deep, but the fact that there's so many variables in the human interaction, it's like, yeah, this is fun. You know, I kind of got into it. So
yeah, it's kind of a social experiment.
I wish I hadn't slept on it for so long. I think like it could be one of those things where, especially if you got like, it's the two of us. We can only do a 2-man ship. We're going to up against like 4-man ships. Like if you could have like a regular crew, it'd be pretty cool. So, I don't hate it. I not my favorite thing, but for an afternoon, it's fun. So we're gonna jump back in again this Saturday and just like see how far we get, because like kind of started clicking with me finally. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that game from afar always seems like it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, I just never.
It's like a good, not great. Yeah, it's like a good, not great. Is how I feel. It's like a good 7 out of 10. Is how I feel about this game. In my few times playing it, but I think it's all about company. You know what I mean? We'll see.
Yep.
Yeah. Sony games. There was a state of play. What do you got?
Yeah, that was
something.
There was a lot of nonsense in that. That first game, I might be interested in. The look like Bayonetta, like they're just ripping Bayonetta. It seemed like.
Was that the one with like the really reflective outfits?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they even like called her an angel at some point. And it's like, oh, you're just. This is what we're doing.
Super tight, super reflective outfits. Yeah.
Yeah. But the combat looked really good in that game.
Sure.
So that one I might keep on my radar. If I ever get a PlayStation 5, and I think that's the real question to me here is like, was there anything there that was like, okay, now I need to get one?
I still question if I need an Xbox Series.
Yeah.
I think ultimately the answer is probably no. Like my gaming PC is still okay.
Yeah.
But I like sitting on the couch, you know.
Yeah, that's the plus sign. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything like the. I'm not a big horror game thing, and there was a lot of that
new
stuff.
Silent Hill,
which would look that free one just looked like PT.
Right.
Again,
another Death Stranding. Because why? What's the Konami Splatoon thing? Foam World? Foam Fighters?
Yeah, Foam Stars.
Yeah, it's going to be free. Let me just preface it. They could rename it to Offline in 6 months is what the free-to-play game is going to be.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we combined the verticality building of Fortnite with Splatoon and skanky dressed Americans instead of Japanese kids and not Squid Kids? And like, none of it seems good.
No.
None of it. Like, I looked at that and I was like, I don't want to play this. Like, I don't understand. I loosely understand what's happening, but none of it seems like it's worth my time.
Yep. Yeah, that one was. They showed that one off a while ago too, and it was just like, this is.
Well, and they're like, the first month it's free to play exclusively for PlayStation Plus members. It's like, dude, nobody gives a fuck. Like, this game's dead before it even comes out. What the fuck is Konami thinking?
Probably because I just think like just even like you think about the physics of like what foam is, that just doesn't seem like it would be a
Right.
good game. Good like
No.
paint from Splatoon is great. You're painting, but like foam is
Right.
just like the physics just doesn't seem like it would be great.
Yeah, this is more like spray can insulation that like instantly hardens, but is also somewhat malleable forever,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that thing is gonna be like what was the one before it, like Roller Arena or something weird?
Oh
Like
yeah.
nobody
I don't
gave a
even
fuck about.
is that even going now? I don't
No,
even
of course
know.
it's not, and this won't be either. It's dead before it came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna do one of those, I guess you have to do. I mean, that's the or the
Sure,
Rocket League thing
sure.
to try and get that, but you got to be good too.
And then there was like Sonic Shadow Generations, which is a reboot of Sonic Generations, but they put Shadow in the middle, so it's somehow different.
New levels. I don't know what the
N-
point of that is.
Dude, you know how many conversations I've had with people over the last 15 years where they're like, bro, you remember Sonic Generations? All those conversations would amount to none because nobody gave a fuck.
Oh, I like that game. That's
Yeah,
a good
it
game.
was fine. It was the
Yeah.
last inoffensive game before like maybe Colors, but
Yeah.
like it's been over a decade. Like nobody, but are you like even you? I've played a little bit of it. It's fine. But are you like I would love to revisit that game
No,
today?
because it's like a lot of Sonic games. You know,
Right.
the few first levels are very nostalgic and they feel
Yeah.
fun and they're fast and they're great, and then they kind of just turns into whatever, and then you turn into the other players and you don't want to play them, and yeah,
Right. And to me, it's the whole like Sonic Racing Transformed or Sonic Racing model where it's like, even as great as that game is, it is still so jank that it is C
yeah,
list compared to a polished Mario Kart. Like, you could argue that Sonic Racing Transformed is a deeper and richer game than Mario Kart 8, and I wouldn't fault you for it. But you can also play Sonic Racing Transformed to drive into an abyss and never finish a race, where Mario Kart would never allow that to happen. And that's like
yeah.
the difference.
And
And
I mean,
that's
there's
where
a lot
Sonic's
of
been.
it's not across the board quality, because like even
Right.
like you said, the racing, there's just some bad tracks, and
Characters and
yeah, and it's they just add more sometimes when you don't need it, when you should just focus on. And I'll give credit to Sonic Generations. They kind of cut the fat and said, you know,
yeah.
on some stuff, but yeah, now they're just
It was
redoing it.
their that generation return to form. But it was so little, so late.
But yeah, why are you returning to form and then being like, but what if we brought Shadow back to you? Like,
Right. Like you
what?
kind of didn't do it with Frontiers. Like maybe take a new step forward. Like there's not that's the thing to me is like this isn't Thousand Year Door for the Switch or Mario RPG for the Switch. This is a game that people had middling reactions to that doesn't
Mhm.
need an update and no one's clamoring for. So if there's no nostalgia grab, what is the grab? The
Are
bargain
they?
bin?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Assuming you print enough physical copies.
Superstars is already bargain bin. Yeah, it's I wonder if they're building up for an actual real Shadow game after this.
Well, where
I
what
don't
was
know.
that Shadow Werewolf Unleashed or whatever that bullshit was?
Well, they had. I think he only had one regular one
Yeah.
that was just Shadow, and then he was in other ones. But I mean, he's going to be the main focus of the next movie, I think, too. But
Hey, without Jim
we'll
Carrey, there's no
see.
movie. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Other than
Well,
that, it was not. They're making a tactical espionage game, action espionage, which is just like, I love how they said it like six different ways to basically say we're making a Metal Gear game.
but also featuring the guy who made Metal Gear games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. It was such a lackluster state of play. Like I missed it, and I watched like the recaps, and even like the bullet points were like snooze, snooze, snooze. Like I don't. I mean, not that Xbox has anything going for it either, but
Dragon's Dogma looks pretty
sure,
good.
yeah.
I mean, I never played the first one. So I don't know. It looks like Monster Hunter with magic, which would be kind of cool, but I don't know if that's what it is or not.
Let's be honest though, like we're into the third or fourth year of the PlayStation and the Xbox, and the legacy and final year of the Switch is already shaping up to be better in the first 6 months than
Mm-hmm.
either of those. I mean, that's fucked. Like, what's the like? Everyone just get a low tier 8 GB gaming laptop through Acer at Walmart, and let's just all go to Steam.
Yep.
I feel like that's where we're at.
I mean, the only thing Xbox is announcing is layoffs. So,
yeah, boy, that was sad. But their revenue is up 90% on the Xbox division thanks to the acquisition. But yeah, more. My God, it is too bad. Layoffs everywhere. Yeah, well, I read that amazing story of the guy who was like in a meeting and realized he was at Blizzard, realizing he was going to be fired. And he's like, I cash in all my remaining keys to get the next 10 years of WoW free before I was shut off. They said it crashed the system because like everyone had the same idea.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I get it though, right? Like the industry, it was like so bloated. And it's not like the few. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
How did they think it was going to be stay that hot after pandemic? You know, that's a lot of industries, but especially this one.
Well, and it had like that weird bump of like where the future model was like throwing off access because like it's like no, mobile won't overtake it. Like that's not a thing. But like that it only like had that cushion because we had the pandemic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and now it's resetting, and yeah, I don't
know.
And then a game like Pal World that's developed by like 10 dipshits, an AI, a chat GPT, and $10,000 is like outperforming
with zero new ideas.
100%. Right? Like at the end of the day, it's sad to say, but the quotes are right. Like you don't have to have innovation or a new idea. You just have to have the idea of like, I want to make something fun. And if that's derivative, that's fine. But it turns out fun and derivative also makes money in this case. So
it's hard to come up with something new that's fun in that space for sure.
It is wild to me though that we're finally at like the thing that like I've been talking about for years. Well, and you've been talking about it too, and you and I, it's like we're finally at the point where like DVDs are gone. Retailers are not going to carry Xbox games.
They fired their division.
Right. Retailers don't really carry physical games. They carry paper cutouts in a dust case. So we're finally at the point where like our hobby of hoarding things on a shelf, if anyone's watching the video version, they're all behind me, I'm pointing at them now, is gone. You know what I mean? Like we finally hit that. So it's like, what does the industry look like?
Yeah,
it's weird to me that like we finally hit what Steam has been preaching for the last 15 years, right? Like it's finally kind of arcing where like Steam is the ecosystem and like everybody else is the ancillary that's picking up the slack.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Steam, I feel like though, is like they do have a lot of old games on there, and the files are there. You can get the files, and probably won't run on your computer sometimes, but you can get them to work.
Right.
But you know, with a console, it's so hard to know, especially if you jump to a new generation. Like what? They're gone probably. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have a Steam library, and people still treat like your Steam library as your collection. You know, sometimes.
Yeah. I think unless Xbox can roll Xbox Live into an ever-present app and maybe even get like Steam integration, like I think like the platform is going to die. I don't know that they have another console in them. You know what I mean? They're so low in the standings right now.
Yeah.
Even PlayStation, like, what's the point? I always hear everyone like, well, what am I going to play on PlayStation? Well, you can play Spider-Man 2. How long is Spider-Man 2 going to be the to-go case? Like,
or be on PC.
Right. And when it's coming out, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't want to be the pessimist, and I don't want to see physical media die because I love it. And we're already seeing like the repercussions of it not being available, but we are now finally at this like pivotal point that we've kind of been in our space fearing, you know what I mean? And it's here.
Oh yeah.
And it's not coming back, right? Like physical media is not going to come like until games are printed in vinyl in 20 years, people aren't going to give a fuck. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah. I mean, games like even though you can get physical games right now, like most of them are not without the patches that you get. And
codes, yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if Pal World right now was the only thing you got for the rest of time? That was Pal World. It's like, yeah, it was fun, but at the same time, what it could turn into, you're not going to get on that digital copy if you're not downloading. Which
I just think it's ironic that Nintendo's staunchness on resisting innovation might be the thing that makes them the last physical holdout in the genre that they occupy or the medium. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it very well could be.
It could be. I think
they will be the last toy. You know.
Yeah,
games are for something different.
They're for sure going to be backwards compatible, right? Like I can't imagine that's not going to play Switch Cart next time.
If they don't,
maybe
stupid.
Yeah, but yeah, I would be surprised if they went completely digital next time.
As long as I don't get the new Switch OLED 2D XL, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Wasn't the Wii U? Didn't they they're going to be stopped? They're not even going to provide updates on games anymore.
I'm sure. Yeah, it went offline for sure.
Yeah. So right there, like the games or whatever patches or updates, those are gone forever.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird point in gaming. You know, games media is all but dead. Physical media in the genre is all but dead. We're at the point where emulation has caught up with most of the concerns of needing to have a physical library for preservation's sake. Like,
yeah,
like we're kind of the old guard, right? Like,
yeah,
we really are. And it's weird.
Less and less people care about it. Yeah. Teachers especially, they do not want to hear about video games.
Yeah, they don't want to hear about fucking Fortnite, those bastards. Well, let's get into staff picks. You got one that's gaming related, I think.
It's a movie.
Really? New movie?
Yeah, it just came out. It's on HBO Max or whatever.
Okay. Well, the thing that I unsubscribed from.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew you were not on there. Otherwise, I probably would have picked it for our movie podcast. But this is...
Which, speaking of which, we're going to have the Game Chasers, Adventures in Game Chasing, dropping earlier this week by the time this thing has already come out. But
yep, it'll be out by...
Check out Geekade Patreon. It's a good podcast. We talk about movies. It's fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, this movie, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat Cage Match, it's called. And it's a animated movie.
Oh.
They've been doing it. No, it's cartoon animated.
Okay, I like that better actually. Yeah.
Yep. And it's they've made a few of these Mortal Kombat ones, so they're rated R, you know, they're swearing, there's blood, there's all that stuff in it. So it's pretty fun. And this one is centered around obviously Johnny Cage.
Sure.
Who would you cast as Johnny Cage
these days?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I'd probably say, what's that guy from? Paul Walker. I would say Paul Walker.
Paul Walker.
That's the voice. Okay.
He was not available, I don't
Oh,
think.
son of a bitch.
Well,
What's that guy from? Who's the dude who fucked Kanye's woman after SNL?
oh, Pete Davidson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that guy.
I could see him being a
Yeah,
good
he'd be
one.
good. Yeah.
But Johnny Cage has the perfect, he's a very sarcastic too.
Sure.
So I think they almost nailed it with this.
Who is
And
it?
they picked Joel McHale.
No way, really?
Yeah, yeah.
I hate Joel McHale so much.
Well,
The only thing
you're
he's been
supposed
good
to,
in to me is Community, but
but you're supposed to hate him. I mean, that's the
yeah,
point.
that's true. That's true.
And you are supposed to kind of hate Johnny Cage, right? Like
If he hadn't shit on the Game Awards so hard in the early years of Keeley,
I think
although
I love
Keeley
that.
deserves it now, so I feel weird about it.
I really did love that year. Like the
Did
way
you
he did.
really?
Yeah.
I wanted to punch him in the face. I was like, Joel's a dickhead.
Oh, it's a great comedy. He did not want to be there. He did not care about
And
it
he
at
gave
all.
no fucks about anybody.
Yeah, it was great. So yeah.
So of course they cast him in a video game movie after he shit all over the industry. Okay, great. We're off to a good start.
Yeah. He so he finds out that the whole Hollywood industry is basically a racket that they're trying to, outer world is trying to get demons into into Earth. So yeah, the who controls Hollywood is a might be a metaphor for what a lot of people say in who controls Hollywood in real life.
Sounds like it's pretty accurate.
Who would you schedule for that? For somebody that you would say stereotypically would control Hollywood.
Mel Brooks?
That's a very good guess. This guy
nothing to do with his heritage.
This guy is currently dead.
Oh my gosh.
This is his last movie.
Ooh. Okay, go on.
This is Gilbert Gottfried.
No. Are you fucking kidding me?
This is his last movie.
Was it like 2 years ago?
Yep.
How old is this film?
Oh, yeah.
So he filmed this in the Fred Fox episode of AVGN the same year?
It must have been. It was probably around the same time. But yeah, he's the the big agent that is trying to, he's has the ins of Hollywood. Wow. So yeah, it's hitting the nose a little bit on the commentary there, I think. But
wow. I'm confused how this exists.
I could not believe it. I mean, obviously
it has to be off Gilbert though, right? Like this would have been tabled anywhere else, but they're like, Gilbert's in it. Like we have it's his last thing. So we have to get it out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they keep making these things. There's like 4 of these now. It is amazing though that I couldn't believe it when I heard it, because obviously you hear his voice and it's like, and I had to still look it up and be like, is this actually him?
Is fucking Saget in it somehow too, or what?
That'd be pretty good.
And then Norm Macdonald, or I mean, Jesus Christ.
That would be pretty good. Yeah, they're all Mortal Kombat characters.
I can see that. So, do you recommend this thing, or
yeah, it's pretty good.
The shock factor. Okay, really.
Okay. It's pretty good. I mean, it's got like the kind of like Big Trouble in Little China feel to it, where it's like the guy is like just a normal man, or kind of just an actor guy, and he ends up into a whole other element that he didn't even know about.
This is unreal to me. That just the casting you've already laid out.
It's a prequel too, and at the end of the movie, he packs his bags, and he's like, "I'm off to go to this island." Which the bags look exactly like the bags that are in the first movie. So, wow. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So what you're saying is I should reinstall monthly subscription to Max for this.
I
Anyway,
don't know about that. Maybe check some clips out. I don't know, but I mean,
interesting.
he does punch some balls, so you got to see
What
it.
more can you ask for?
Yep.
Well, my staff pick it spawns out of Svengoolie. They showed Willard, which was a 1971 film. It's not unlike Psycho in the fact that it's a troubled young man who is tormented by his evil mother in like a rickety old house, who then like sicks a army of rats to wreak mayhem on everybody. Which it also got a remake in like 2003 from the guy from Back to the Future.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yes, right. I can't remember the actor's name. The one who was like recast. What is his?
Crispin Glover. Yeah,
Yes, Glover.
that's the one I thought you were talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
essentially the same. This 71 film is like wild though. It's pretty entertaining. And then what they hinted to at the end of this airing on Svengoolie was that in 1972, the rat who was the architect of evil at the end of that film, named Ben, got his own direct sequel, where Ben is the showcase of the film. And it's more rat murdering mayhem. But the best part is like at the end of that film, the Ben movie has a title track that is sung by a very young Michael Jackson about Ben the
Oh.
Rat.
Oh, wow.
So both of these films are like basically public domain. They're on Tubi for free. I suggest watching them back to back. Ben does recap the ending 5 minutes of Willard to kind of set the stage, but doesn't like context why events are taking place. So if you have like 3 hours of your day, I would watch them back to back. It's just kind of hilarious watching people be murdered by dozens upon dozens of rats when you're like, this is such a solvable problem. Like, just run. You know what I mean? Like, or just slap them away. But they don't, and it's the better films for it. So I don't know.
Yep. Movie logic, right?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
it's the kind of movie. It's the kind of like popcorn flick you throw on, just want to laugh at, and yeah, they're both great. And the Michael Jackson thing is hilarious. So
yeah, wow, Ben the Rat.
There's not much more to say. Murderous rats, troubled young adult. It is what it is. So.
Huh. Yeah, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that one was a remake. That's
yeah, I didn't either. Well, it's like that's what happened. Like we were watching. Like my wife's like, "What's on Svengoolie this week?" I was like, "It's Willard." She's like, "About the rats?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I look it up. And then I saw the Crispin Glover thing in like 2003. I was like, I bet she saw that one. She's like, "Oh yeah, that's the one I saw." I'm like, "All right." You see the 1971 one? She's like, "No." Like, well, buckle up. We're going in, you know. It's pretty brutal, but the ending pays off. I would say if you had to pick one of the two, Ben is the more straight to the point. Like rats are going to kill people, but it really does almost need the contexting of the first film, which is very dry, but I don't know, worth it. So, yeah. And with that, I guess we can talk about our actual weekend rental.
This might be one of the most disappointing ones to me. Like,
yeah. So for anyone not familiar, the weekend rental, we pick a game for a given system. This time it's the Game Boy Advance, and we're talking about Kirby: The Amazing Mirrors. Is that right?
Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. We played this game. We give it our opinion as to whether we would buy, rent, or physically burn it. It got. I mean, immediately after picking this, it got overshadowed by Pal World in both our eyes. And I think we kind of have the same general consensus, whereas we generally try to sink a reasonable amount of time into a game. But this one almost didn't call for it from the get-go for some pretty apparent reasons.
Yeah, it took advantage of my time, I thought.
Yeah.
This is a mainline Kirby game. I mean, it's got all the hallmarks of those games, suck
Yeah.
up, get all those powers
So, yeah.
and suck it up. And they decided to make it a Metroidvania without any of the hallmarks of a Metroidvania.
Yeah, like level progression or understanding how you got from one point to another.
New abilities, yeah, nothing.
Yeah, it essentially equates to levels that have multiple exits with no explanation, and there's some like multiplayer mechanics. I assume there was probably a way back in the day to do 4 GBAs combined.
That's I was gonna look into that because
Yeah.
that had I mean, there are 4 different colors of Kirby, so there has to be something along those lines.
Right, which if that's true is still absurd because even the best example of that or the most worthwhile reason to do that in my opinion is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and still you had to be a sadist
Mhm.
to find enough people to pull that off. So what it amounts to is a Kirby game that is 100% intact in terms of charm, gameplay, abilities, and progression, but 100% lacking straightforward story design and narrative, which is
There's nothing.
a key component, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the other part of the formula that makes a cute platformer, especially Kirby, fun.
I thought I missed like, I skipped a story beat or something, but
Right,
no, it's just like
right.
Meta Knight's doing something. I don't
Well,
know.
there's two Meta Knights. There's an evil
Yeah.
Meta Knight and a not as evil Meta Knight. I don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. And yeah, the whole game is basically going into a level, and it would be like having just random secret exits to levels, and then you have to go
Yeah.
back into the level and try and find another secret exit.
And doors within that level that just like led you to repeat stuff to the point where like it goes from like natural progression to instant frustration where all you're trying to do is find a way out, but the way you find is off is often not the way to open up the next stage.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Even though you beat a boss sometimes and you go back
yes.
to the main thing and it's like, well, that did nothing.
And do we have to do the tree trope thing every time? I know it's a thing, but why? Yeah, I it was just like immediately frustrating, immediately defeating. Like after exiting that first or second level, when you've inevitably not progressed, you're like, I don't want to go back in. Like I didn't inherently dislike any of the gameplay I experienced, but it also didn't reward me, direct me, or incentivize me to want to repeat it. You know what I mean?
And Kirby is definitely not the style of game that you want to repeat. I mean, it's so basic
Right.
anyway.
The whole point of Kirby is like Kirby's Adventure and Kirby's Dreamland. You know, it's like this whole like walk through a fun and whimsical world in a forward progression. It's not
Mhm.
this. And I don't know how they missed that. And I was like, so after I played a couple hours of it, I was like, okay, like let me see what the reviews were on this thing. And like they're overwhelmingly glowing. And I do not understand it because
Dude,
it's not deserving of it.
no. So when I quit is when I finally there's 2 times in a row where I beat something. Like I thought I beat the level and then there's no new mirror, there's nothing.
Yeah.
I think I got 1 shard in the actual mirror. And yeah, there was nothing. So then you go back in the same spot, try to find different doorways and stuff. And I get down a rabbit hole enough on these doors that I'm like in world 6, but there's just a wall and there's a lever on the other side, and I couldn't think of any way to do it. I tried
Yeah.
everything that I possibly could to hit that lever, but I think you have to hit that lever and that becomes a shortcut to world 6. I don't know what the purpose would have that been, because
Right.
if you have to be in world 6 for that level already, I don't know what the point of it was. Yeah, that's surprising that it would be so glowing because it just seems so directionless.
Yeah, and it's otherwise in line with every other Kirby game. You know what I mean? Like, I can't fault the gameplay, the visuals, the enemy, the progression, or not the progression. I can the upgrades. It's all there. But when you take away like the forward momentum and feeling of success, it just topples this game. Like, this thing is like a 6 out of 10 to me. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, this is not the type of game that you want to replay and retrace your steps without even any direction either.
Right.
There's not like Metroid where you do that type of stuff, but you have a map and you're like, okay, I got to get up there and do this. Like there's no,
Yeah.
you're hopping into a level hoping that you find another door that takes you somewhere else.
And there's that baseline like 2 intro screen thing that's like, well, here's how you call in your allies, and we're playing solo. So assuming that you could somehow link them through multiple GBAs regardless, it's like it's such a afterthought component to the game. It's like the only reason you would call them in is not to fight for you because they're virtually incapable, but it's just like gleam life off of them. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm about to die, so let me get some extra life off of these assholes. But
Yeah. Their AI does not work at all in
sucks.
the game.
And I like the idea of a Kirby game with like more like mid-stage bosses, but
Mm-hmm.
again, if at the end of the day I can still pick one of the wrong 10 doors out, like, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I wonder if some of it was like we're missing something. Maybe some of the stuff you had to have specific powers for. I don't. But overall, usually Kirby powers are just damage, right? There's nothing like inherently
Right.
like ability wise that you're getting.
But in our defense, there's dozens of other Kirby games who have just been intuitive and like pick up and play. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like the appeal of the series, and like a star fee, which Nintendo has seemingly forgot about, but it goes against, I think, what Kirby is. And it's like, I feel like Kirby was built and launched initially as the ultra approachable platformer answer to Mario, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is just not that, which sucks because it has everything else.
If you complained about the first games being, 2 hours long, this gives you more padding. I mean, if
Sure.
it has more of that, if this was the only game you had, I guess
Yeah.
it would be nice to have that. But I mean, it's not adding a lot of fun because you're doing the same stuff.
Right.
I ended up finding a missile power that you can just turn into a rocket and just shoot in one direction. So I was just skipping entire levels by just like going up to the top of the screen and just shooting a missile and just flying as a missile across the whole level.
That's good game design.
Yeah.
Like, I'll bypass all this shit.
Yep.
It's like the whole
But
cape in the Mario stuff and like the secret Starland or whatever. Yeah.
right. But like one of the doors that I wanted was like probably down in some pit that didn't even, yeah.
That sucks. So, I mean, given what we've said, given our experiences, if we're gonna conform it to the Byron burn scale, what do you think you give it?
I can't believe that I'm burning a Kirby game. A mainline Kirby game. I mean, Kirby's been in so much other shit that you could be like, oh, this idea didn't work with Kirby, but this is a mainline one, and I think it's the worst Kirby game I've ever played.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn it too. We've played Tilt and Tumble, we've played Avalanche, we've played Dream Course.
Yeah.
I I would feel bad for the child whose first experience of Kirby is this, and for that reason, it needs to be torched and expunged. It's not, again, from a gameplay perspective, nothing inherently wrong. It's right up there, but from a progression standpoint, like, it just squanders everything that it had.
One decision that they made in development just ruined it all.
Yeah, it's bullshit. We just torched an 8 out of 10 game.
Jeez.
We're sadistic bastards.
Yeah. If you're out there and you have a different idea, maybe we missed something. When we're this far off base on everybody else, I feel like, oh, there was something that we just missed.
I mean, we did skip a Kirby game to play bastardized offshoot Pokemon game for the better part of 2 weeks. So we could be morally corrupt.
Yeah.
Just out there.
I hope they make a pal that can suck up other pals and steal their abilities. That's coming next.
Next patch. Yeah.
But if you have played this game and you know what we're saying is wrong, please let us know at weekendrentalpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter to rage about Kirby. That's where the hot debates about Kirby happen, is on Twitter there. But,
all over.
Yep. But until next time, be kind, rewind.